In its quest to provide an open forum for discussion of controversial issues, this station allows hosts and their guests to express themselves without any significant censorship. You're advised that any views expressed by the host or their guests are not necessarily the views of Togi Entertainment or its partners.
Let's go, girls. Come on.
From New York City to Los Angeles, Powered Up with Beck and Franklin is giving women of all ages permission to live the life they've always dreamed of. Why live in black and white when you can choose the brilliance of 3D and Technicolor? Each week, Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin and their high-powered guests will be here to cheer you on, to share their challenges, their successes, and what they've learned along the way. It's all about women supporting women. The stories and practical tips on sex, beauty, money, and so much more are designed to help you reconnect to the powerful woman you are. Fabulous knows no limits. Now it's time for you to expand your boundaries. Here are Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin.
Hey ladies, this is Sandra Beck and I'm here with my New York counterpart, Linda Franklin, and this is Powered Up Talk Radio. And Linda, true to our show name, I'm going to ask you, what did you do this week to power yourself up?
Oh, boy. Well, there were several things. And, powered up doesn't have to be a big major thing. It can be just like a little thing. And one of the little things I did is I actually got a new computer, and I held my breath and said, please let this work, because I've been on the same computer for 12 years. And it did. So now I've got a wonderful new laptop, and it's fast and it's pretty and it's working well. So that was a major accomplishment.
That is a major accomplishment. Going to learn, because you probably were working on Windows XP and now you're having to learn Windows 8. Or did you get Windows 7?
No, I got 7. I heard so many negative things about 8, especially if it was on a laptop, because if it wasn't touch screen, they said, no, don't do it. So it was a real challenge hunting around to find what we wanted on Windows 7 because it just wasn't around because they're pushing 8 so hard.
That is so smart, because I have 2 systems in my office here that are 8s, and yeah, with on a laptop without a touch screen, it's a nightmare. And even my 9-year-old son said to me, Mom, what were they thinking when they created Windows 8? He's like, you have to do like 5 keystrokes just to shut it down. And I thought, and he's 9.
And, they're so much more computer adept than we are. So if he's struggling, I can't even imagine what it would happen to me.
Well, I'm a computer expert, and it was frustrating the bejesus out of me. And I think I actually called you and said, Linda, I hate Windows 8. I think I actually told everybody how much I hated Windows 8.
Well, I love the company, but anytime somebody comes out with a new operating system, you got to give it time to work out the kinks. So I wasn't ready to jump in yet.
That's true. You're such a smart lady. That's why we're friends. That's why we're radio hosts. Well, I was the person who ordered off the TV this week for Powered Up, and I got to tell you, I absolutely love the NutriBullet that I bought. That was my Powered Up thing for me, because I was tired of my old blender, and I was tired of trying to chop and grind everything up. And we're going to talk about my NutriBullet in our products section at the end of the show, but I want to tell you, putting an investment into something as silly as a, countertop appliance has made such a difference in my life. And I think it kind of goes along with the, hey, you know what? I matter too. I am of value. I deserve some good in this life, and especially for me as a mom of 2 young children, it's a real guilt battle going on in there when I choose to spend my money on something that, even though it's for the family, I've got braces to pay for and camps and things like that. It was a big deal for me, and part of being powered up this week is going to be making, even if they're small decisions, things that make either my life easier or my life better.
No, absolutely. Well, that's what it's all about. Powered up is just being in that space where you're feeling good and you're doing, as I said, little things, anything that puts you in a place where you can just take a deep breath and you don't feel stressed and you just feel at peace with the world. I think that's a very good place to be in. And that's why we called the show Powered Up.
It is, and especially after years of powering through. Linda, we've talked about this between the two of us before about how part of our success, your success and my success individually, has been powering through situations, and it's just exhausting. It really, really takes a lot of effort to power through, and I think what we both have discussed recently is that kind of going with the flow in certain things and maybe powering up but not powering through is a wiser choice at this point in my life. I don't want to speak for you.
Wow. It certainly is a wiser choice because it gets rid of a lot of the stress. I know now, especially now that I'm aware of it. Before I wasn't aware of it. I would just, go like a bull in a china shop. Right, if I wanted something, there wasn't anything that was going to stop me. But it takes its toll, and once my gauge now is that if it stops being fun or it really feels lousy, and it's a visceral feeling, even, sometimes I could be on the phone and I'm talking to somebody and I don't understand why, but I break out in a cold sweat. And now I notice that, and I say, there's something here that I need to be aware of. What's my body trying to tell me here? Maybe this isn't the thing I ought to be doing.
Right. Well, when things are harder than they should be, and that can be a relationship, that can be a friendship. I recently had an experience with one of my friends who wasn't truthful to me. She told me a portion or a version of the truth, and I couldn't figure out why things were so complicated between us all the time. There were lots of disagreements, lots of hurt feelings, lots of letdown, and I didn't get it, and I kept thinking, well, if I'm just a good friend and I'm going to, typical fan, power through this, figure out the relationship. Well, when the truth did come out and I found that, her intentions were less than honorable, I looked back at the year and a half I spent being this woman's friend thinking, all the signs were there. It was too difficult. It was too hard. There were too many barriers in the way. But yet I kept pushing it forward, thinking that was the right thing to do, rather than letting it go. And that was a really hard lesson for me because I'm not a good person at letting go.
No, I think that a lot of women aren't. In fact, most women aren't because they just want to take it through to success. At whatever cost that is.
Right. Personal, professional.
Yeah, but you just can't do that all the time. And that has just been my gauge now. If it's, like you say, if it's too hard, if I get that knot in my stomach or I get the cold sweats or when the phone rings and I look and see who it is and I say, oh, no, then, you got to pay attention. Because if you don't, you pay the consequences.
Right. I think as women, we naturally want to fix things. We want to make things better. We're hopeful. And when it comes to people and human relationships, you don't want to just chuck the baby out with the bathwater because, you go through a rough spot. But what happens when the bumpiness keeps going? And that was the one thing that, I think I had to learn. And maybe it's the whole process of learning to let go.
Yeah, no, letting go is a good thing. You really benefit from it. I'm looking forward to the show today because I saw a couple of really interesting things online that I want to discuss with you and Lisa. One of them was the John Gray and his stardom came from Mars. Women are from Mars or women are from Venus and men are from Mars. So now at the University of Rochester, they're debunking that theory, and they tested more than 13,000 adults, and they said there are no differences. Women can be aggressive mentally as men, and men can be as empathetic as women, and being ambitious is not necessarily a male characteristic. So I want to, I think that'll be interesting to talk about because, do we really feel that way? Sometimes I feel my husband is from Mars, or is it just that he's just his personality, and it doesn't have anything to do with him just being a man. I mean, some women I feel are from Mars.
Well, I absolutely. I think about some of these things that, we talk about, and I'll tell you, I'm so excited to talk with Lisa and you about this, because having boys, being a single mother of two boys without, my dad lives here part-time, and it's great when I can bounce man things off of him, but since my mom's dead and I can't bounce things off of her, I look at these two boys going, where the hell did that come from? My sisters and I never peed on each other. We don't play punchies. That's not the fun game. We pulled hair. I tied knots in my sister's hair. I mean, we did our own things. But having boys has been a real eye-opener, and having one boy who is, I jokingly call him Niles and Frazier, one boy that is deep and sensitive and artistic and skillful, and then there's the other one who's all baseball bats and football games from the time he could see what was on the TV screen. It was just innate. But I'm so excited to talk to you guys, because I'm dumbfounded on a daily basis where men are concerned and where little boys are concerned.
Well, I think that we'll talk to Lisa about it, but I think that the common denominator with all men, and maybe boys too, is they don't listen to us. And I think that's a big complaint of women. Why isn't he listening? I can say something and go through a whole conversation, then 2 hours later, he doesn't even remember we had the conversation because he was tuned out.
Absolutely. And my oldest brother used to do that. He could do it in church. He could do it in the classroom. He could do it when my mom and dad were yelling at him 2 inches from his face. It was really a gift, I think. But I want to take us to commercial break, Linda. I just love hosting this show with you. The show is Powered Up with Beck and Franklin. My co-host, Linda Franklin, is in New York. I am here in Los Angeles. When we come back from the break, we are going to welcome Lisa Detres. She has run a lot of women's groups. She's got her MBA. She's a smart cookie, and she's raised a couple boys and counseled many, many women on the raising of children and their families. So when we come back from the break, we're going to pick her brain. We're going to talk about the differences of men and women, and we're going to really challenge the University of Rochester today with their findings.
We've got lots more Powered Up with Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin after these messages.
It's time to devote time to yourself and strap yourself in for a fun, down-to-earth, enthusiastic, compassionate, easy-to-understand discussion on the unlimited ways you can be all that you want to be. Join us for B Institute Radio with Christine McKee on TogiNet Radio. Each week, Christine will have lively and open discussions and interviews, share stories and case studies, and hear from experts on the topic of the week. Christine, a registered psychologist from Australia and published author of Be by Design, How I Be is Up to Me, hosts lively discussions and interviews every Thursday evening at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time.
It's time to capture the simple piece of the Amish in your own life. Amish Wisdom with Suzanne Woods Fisher. Thursday afternoons at 5, 4 Central. Each week, Suzanne will have conversations with guests about living a life that incorporates principles of the Amish without going Amish. She'll cover the practical, simplicity, slowing down, reducing clutter, putting the brakes on materialism. The historical, how have the Amish survived for 400 years? How can we hold on to what we hold dear? And the spiritual, treasuring important values, honoring the past, and increasing peace of mind. You don't have to become Amish to make personal peace a reality. Amish Wisdom will help all of us live a simpler life. For more information, go to SuzanneWoodsFisher.com. With Amish Wisdom, Suzanne offers us a glimpse into a world of peace, serenity, and total commitment to family and God. This show just might change the way you live your life. It's Amish Wisdom with Suzanne Woods Fisher. Thursday afternoons at 5, 4 Central on TogiNet.com.
We're back with Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin. Here's more Powered Up with Beck and Franklin.
Hey, ladies, this is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Linda Franklin. And from coast to coast, Los Angeles to New York, we've got you covered with everything about the truth of money, sex, beauty, love, health. What else, Linda? We got a whole slew of them.
Relationships, everything.
Right,
how to look 10 years younger, the whole gamut.
Everything. Well, I would like to introduce to our listeners Lisa Detres. Lisa has been a regular on my radio shows for years. She is bright. She's beautiful. She's articulate. She's been to the ringer more than once, so she's not one of those airy-fairy women who everything's sunny, warm, and wonderful. She's counseled women for many years. She counseled me. She held my hand through my mom's passing, as did Linda and Robin, the producer on this show. So I am eternally grateful for these powerful women in my life, and I'm so thankful, Linda and Lisa, to have you on the air today with me. Do we have Lisa?
It's good to be here.
There you are. How was that for a big setup?
That was a small delay. It didn't sound like you were there. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Linda. Hi, Sandra.
Hey, so we saw on the internet the John Gray book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and University of Rochester in New York State did these test results on 13,300 adults and declared the difference between the sexes to be rubbish. Now, you have raised two beautiful boys. I think they're terrific. You have some grandbabies. And you have counseled a lot of women, including me, over the years. And what say you?
Well, first of all, I don't really know what type of testing they were doing on the people. It sounds as if they were asking them questions about their emotional state and, you know, the way they think about things and how they behave as opposed to physiological differences. So, you know, not having seen the report other than just a synopsis of it, I'm not sure what they're debunking. What I do know is I read the first page of Men Are From Mars and Women From Venus and threw it down and said, yeah, we're different. Okay, fine. What else do you got? And it's funny, Sandra, you're talking about, you know, your boys. Where did they get this stuff? I've seen that with my own boys, and I actually have two older brothers, so I grew up with it. You know, I've always had at least two men in my life, always. So, but you know what? I think from the emotional standpoint, there's a lot of validity to that. You can't make assumptions that just because of somebody's gender that they think a certain way or they're, you know, going to be a certain type of person, because we're all different. And we all have qualities about us. Yes, women can be aggressive. I think in business we have to be aggressive. And, you know, men have softer sides too. And I think that's a good thing about the past maybe 40 or 50 years that men have been allowed to get in touch with that side of them that, you know, before they weren't allowed to cry or to, you know, feel hurt or express some of these emotions. So it's a good thing.
Well, I just think women get judged more harshly than the men. I mean, yes, we do have to be aggressive in business, and we do have to work harder and try harder. But then what happens? We get labeled with the B word.
Yes, we do.
You know, and men just don't, because that's expected. I mean, if they close a business deal or get the client on board or whatever, you know, it's the high five. You guys are terrific. But if the woman has to go to whatever she has to lengths to go to, then, you know, she's the bad girl.
Well, and I think that as women, we've not been as successful with developing our equivalent of the good old boys club when it comes to doing business and closing deals. And maybe that's, you know, something that we need to look at as far as being competitive with each other as opposed to maybe, you know, working together a little bit more as opposed to trying to fight each other. I see, you know, the term cat fight comes to mind sometimes when...
It's really true.
And there's a code of ethics too, and I see this, and I will say I'm going to go out on a limb here and say some awful things during the show. I'm just warning you. But working in technology as a woman in senior leadership technology, I have found that in other industries that I've worked in, the women don't have your back. There's a lot of, catfighting. There's a lot of insubordination. There's a lot of, just downright insults and backbiting. What I found in technology, though, there seems to be a more, I don't know if you want to call it male-dominated female, that we do have our backs more, or maybe because we're so, in the minority in this group, I haven't been undercut as much in business as I have in general business than I did in technology. And we are our own worst enemy, especially in business. I'm just going to say that right there on the table.
I agree with you, and women really do not have each other's backs, and I think it comes because, we haven't been in the workplace as long as the men, and I think that women suffer from a lot more insecurity than the men, and if someone comes into the workplace that's younger or prettier or smarter, the party line is to, okay, what can we do to sabotage this one? And it's terrible.
It is terrible. It's not necessary. And I found personally, by mentoring other workers and helping them to develop, whether they're men or women, regardless of race, I don't care. When I see a good quality in somebody, I will go ahead and mentor them. And I don't care if they end up taking my job or, moving above me, because you know what? I'm happy with where I am, and I know that that I'm working hard and that I'm earning, and that I'm going to also move into other positions that I can use my skills with. So, I think it comes from what you were saying, Linda, from being a little bit more happy with where you are and confident that even if somebody prettier or more talented comes in, we can still work with that girl and bring her on board, because there's obviously things that she needs to develop as well, rather than undercutting.
Yeah, well, I mean, it always seems to boil down to how happy are you with yourself, and if you are in that good place, then you're a much better friend, a much better wife, a much better mother. So it always comes back to the individual and where they are.
You're right. That's very true.
Yeah.
So how do we get our sisters on board? That's a tough one.
Well, now neither of you had sisters growing up, right? Is that correct?
I did not have sisters, and I did not have brothers. I am an only child.
You are an only child. Oh, you're the most perfect of all that. If you were not my dad, but you're an only child.
Yeah, I mean, after me, who could even come close? So they didn't even try. Oh man.
Well, I was the maladjusted middle child, in between brothers and sisters, above and below. And I got to tell you, I never had much competition growing up with my brothers, but with my one sister, there was a lot of innate competition that was just, I don't know if it was inbred or it's just in our nature, and we still fight like, cats. And I see it with my friend Christy and her sisters. It's just, I don't know if there's something innate in women that make us naturally competitive to other women. I mean, you guys didn't grow up with it. That's where I recognize it growing up, and I recognize it in the workplace. Do you think there's something inbred with us, or that's part of our nature?
I don't like the term inbred. I didn't have any sisters growing up, but I do remember my mom talking about her sisters, my aunts, and how they were competitive, and my mom was the youngest sister, so the older ones picked on her, and, whether it's something in our nature, it's probably not a good nature, it's probably something we should probably work on, working out. But regardless of where it comes from, it's not a good thing.
And I think it might be inbred, because even today, I know that women are much more critical of other women than certainly men are. So when we go out, are we dressing for a man, or are we dressing so the other women in the room will notice us and approve of us? And
the other women.
I think that we are looking for the female approval, and I don't know why. But it seems that, and we're always looking, how do their nails look? Oh, she got fat. Oh, that hair. Oh, that makeup. Oh, my God, how could she go out of the house like that? Why?
Right, and it sells magazines. It sells magazines. I'm the first one who stands in the grocery line and picks up, In Touch or In Style or whatever, and I absolutely love seeing the celebrities without their makeup on, or picking their nose, or dropping their kid and bent over where their boobs hang out, or you can see their rib bones because they haven't eaten for days. I'm the first one that picks that up and goes, oh, my God, look at this.
You see, because they're real, and when you see them in the magazines or even on the red carpet, oh my God, it took days and days and days for them to prepare for that.
Absolutely. I have so many things to say. I don't even know where to begin with the differences between men and women. Now, you guys have been married to your husbands a long time, been in relationships with your husbands a long time. We've got about 2 minutes to break, and I want to quickly ask if your understanding of your husband has changed, or is it still befuddling what he does as he gets older? Lisa, you first.
Well, I think we're still both trying to figure each other out, but we've come to understand some things in our relationship about each other.
How about you, Linda?
Well, I understand them, but I'm still befuddled by them, if that makes any sense to you. I know what he's going to do, but I don't know why he's doing it. So I think, it's still, we could probably be together for 100 years, and I don't know why he does some of the things he does, and vice versa. I think it'll be interesting, because I saw this online too. I just love being online all day, talking about who snoops more into somebody's emails or into somebody's drawers or something. Is it men or women? I think that's an interesting discussion too.
Absolutely. When we come back from the break, and Linda Franklin and Sandra Beck, myself, are visiting with Lisa Detres, and she has counseled many women, including myself. And when we come back from the break, we're going to talk about some of these differences between men and women and some of the things that we do, some of the stereotypes. And I want to talk about how things have changed generationally over time with the different aspects of the differences between men and women. And did John Gray help us or hurt us as a culture?
We've got lots more Powered Up with Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin after these messages.
This is for all you girls about 42. Tossing pennies into the fountain of youth.
Get ready for resources, tools, and support to help you build a successful business and live an awesome life. It's the Women's Business Success Show with your host, founder of the Association of Women Entrepreneurs, Tara McHugh. Thursdays at 11 a.m. Central here on the Rockstar Radio Network. Each show will feature a special guest interview. Tara will bring you highly successful entrepreneurs sharing their stories of success. You'll hear about the challenges they faced along their journey, together with the advice they have to help you achieve more. You'll also hear from various personal and business development experts sharing tips, solutions, and strategies that you can easily implement into your business and life for amazing results. For more on Tara and her show, check out her website, aofwe.com. Then join us for the Women's Business Success Show with your host, the founder of the Association of Women Entrepreneurs, Tara McHugh. Thursdays at 11 a.m. Central here on the Rockstar Radio Network. What's ideal for you? Really, what's ideal for you? Being who you are, doing what you love, and getting out and about with friends. What's ideal for you? with your host, Janice Christopher, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Central here on the Rockstar Radio Network. And it all starts with Janice doing just that. Then being open, curious, authentic, and living her life on a quest to discover everything that could possibly make life ideal. Check out the website, whatsidealforyou.com. Studies have shown that 80% of Americans, and probably everyone else too, dislike their work. 80%. The mission then is to turn that passion statistic around, to show how it is possible to live your passions and make a living, or live your passions so that you'll be able to mush through your job until you can change it and watch life's magic begin to happen. It's What's Ideal for You with your host, Janice Christopher, Tuesday evenings at 7 p.m. Central on the Rockstar Radio Network.
We're back with Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin. Here's some more Powered Up with Beck and Franklin.
This is for all you girls about 42.
Hey, ladies, this is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Linda Franklin. And for those of you that missed the first half of today's shows, the Battle of the Sexes, the differences between men and women, depending on if you listen to John Gray or the University of Rochester, you can find this broadcast and earlier broadcasts on iTunes under Powered Up Talk Radio. You can also find us on TogiNet.com, and all of our broadcasts are there as well. So if you missed the earlier part of the show, you're going to want to tune in, download, and pick up what Lisa and Linda had to say, because it's always fantastic when you bring these powerhouses together. Now, I'm going to walk down a religious road for just a minute here, Lisa, because you're the only person, actually, that I know has actually read the Bible like 5 times. You study it, you understand it, you've explained things to me, because I can never tell if it's a name or a city or a town or a mule. What does the Bible say about the differences between men and women? Because the Bible arguably is the most read book in the world.
Well, it basically starts out that, we were made differently. Man was made from a blob of mud, which probably explains why they like to spend so much time in it. And women were formed from Adam's rib, the first man. We were actually, made from a part of his rib, so the Bible says. And that's an interesting concept, because, we're made to be alongside our men and help them out and take care of them. They really are not complete without us, at least the ones I've come across. and I always tell my daughter, our job in the world is to bring beauty and style into the world. Otherwise, men would just be, mucking along in the mud, and they don't observe plants and flowers. I mean, some of them do, but I think we bring a gentleness and softness and beauty into the world that I think men do appreciate if they take the time.
Now, what does it say about, there was some passage, and I know you're going to hate me because I went to your Bible study, but it was like, men love your wives and wives respect your husbands, and yoke or something like that. I just remember yoke.
You know what? I always think that's an interesting concept there that, and I've kind of told women this before, that it's easy for us to love our men. I mean, we're just all about falling in love. That's an easy thing for women. It's something that men have to be told to do, and it is an action. They're told you need to love your wife. And if we look at a perfect marriage, which there aren't any, or a perfect relationship, we don't have the kind of abuse and horrible things going on that do happen in relationships. But men are told to love their wives and to care for us, like Christ loved the church and died for it. You can't do much more than give your life for somebody. But women, on the other hand, are told to respect their husbands, because that's something that's hard for us to do. And that was kind of a comment that I made online to Linda when at the last segment, that, sometimes we don't understand what our husbands are thinking when they do things. And I think not a week goes by that I, kind of go, what was he thinking? And my daughter just rolls her eyes and walks away. We're told to respect our husbands. And I find that our relationship goes much better when I do work on the respect part. And not that I don't respect him, because he's a very, very respectable man, but we know they're in, we know the stuff that goes on, and it's like, can you not pick up your plate and take it to the sink? Little things like that, right? And, you know, we have to kind of temper that and go, well, let's give a little grace there and you know, let that one slide, because there's other things that we could, you know, that could be bigger deals than that. So it is about relationships, and, you know, and I think when we look at, you know, physiologically, it's something we've kind of talked with. There's actually a book out there that says men are waffles and women are spaghetti or something like that. And we look at the way the brain functions, and men are very good at compartmentalizing. So we say waffle brain, you know, so they can take their little hole and put their, you know, whatever they're doing stays in that little hole in the compartment, and then they can go on to another. Whereas women, our brains are kind of like spaghetti, where all our thoughts and everything, the feelings and everything are kind of moving back and forth and bouncing off each other, and it really perfectly, we're perfectly made to do the roles of, you know, multitasking and caring for children while we're working and you know, making dinner, and we can do all those things. Men can. They do pretty well at it sometimes, but I've seen more men get all flustered and go, I can only do one thing at a time, where I've never known a woman to say that. So.
Yeah, Linda, how about you? I love that. Thank you, Lisa, because, you know, I always like to go back in history, you know, go back in time where we can, and it's always fun to look at what the Bible has to say, you know, versus John Gray, who has his opinions, and then the University of Rochester, which is diametrically opposed. Let's talk about respect just for a minute here, because I'm a big respect girl. I need to be respected. In fact, I don't even know if I need to be loved more or respected more. They kind of vie for attention in my world, and that kind of makes me androgynous. I'm neither man nor woman at that point. Linda, how about you? How does that, is respect really, is that a thing for your husband in your relationship, or how does that fly?
I think it's the quintessential necessity for every relationship, because you can love someone on a level, but if you don't respect them, everything starts to really peel off and wear down, because then you start to take them for granted. They know, men are very, very sensitive, and as Lisa said, they like to be taken care of, and you may not think they're noticing, but if you drop one of the things that you usually do for them, they start to go on in their minds about what happened, what's wrong, and they're very sensitive to that. At least my husband is. Mm-hmm. So I think the respect part is probably the most important thing, and the relationships that you see fall apart are because the respect factor just dwindled down to nothing.
Right, and what I was going at was that for men, respect is much easier than love, and for women, love may be easier to do than respect. So we're supposed to do both. It's just depending on our nature, what comes easier and what do we actually have to be told to do. Does that make sense? Well,
I think a lot of men talk down to women, even as, but I think maybe they were taught that, or that's something that's ingrained in them as well. They don't think that we've got as much, or we're all that compared to them.
I have seen some of that. That's true. And it kind of is I think it kind of relates back to the good old boys club where, the women, blah, blah, blah. And it is kind of an older generational thing that I don't see as much of, but I do see it still in some of these younger men.
And who do you think is...
Oh, I was just going to buzz in with something for the only one in the room here that has dated the younger man, the seriously younger man. Dating guys in their 20s, like mid-20s, when I was in my 40s, or I am in my 40s, was a real eye-opener to me. The difference in dating a 50-year-old and difference in dating a 25-year-old was really profound for me, not for the things you would think, but because the 25-year-old totally got, like, it was a no-brainer that I work. I'm a single mom, very, very comfortable with that, very, very comfortable with different roles, not so great with the 50-year-old. You know, when I would bring my credit card out to pay my half or to, you know, sometimes to pay for dinner, to do these things, it was really difficult because those gender roles were so much more established in the older man than they were in the younger man. And when I look at how we treat women and we treat men, it's different for these different generations. I'm living proof.
Yeah, but I think some of the old-fashioned rules are good ones. Like if a guy is taking a woman out, then he pays for her. I'm not for this 50% cut the check in half. And a lot of women today are, even though they're older, they accept that, and I don't think that I would. I mean, it's a difference if I offered to pay. But if I was out with somebody that said, okay, what did you have? And let's figure this out, I don't think I'd be a happy camper.
No, I only offered. I never had to pay, but I get that. Yeah, I agree.
I think sometimes, I mean, my take on it is sometimes the paying half, and it maybe depends on what the guy is like. If he's kind of it depends on what he's expecting as opposed to what you're expecting after dinner. Sometimes the pay half of it kind of diffuses that. If you're not quite as serious about furthering the relationship as he is, then there's no expectations. And to me, it's almost a form of prostitution sometimes, but that's my thing. But I do agree with you that it's kind of nice if you're going out on a nice dinner or, you know, a date that he's going to take care of you, you know?
Yes, because
I think you should be expected to pay him back in bed later when you get back. So.
And women, I mean, underneath all of our strength and our power and all that, we still like to be taken care of.
Exactly.
It's a nice thing to be taken care of because we're always taking care of everything else, everybody else, and it's really nice if there's somebody there to take care of us when we need to be taken care of.
That's very true.
Oh, you guys, this has been so much fun. We've been visiting today with Lisa Detres. We've been talking about the differences of men and women. We poked at John Gray. We poked at the University of Rochester. I butchered the Bible. We just have gone all over the map. We've got 2 minutes before I have to, I guess we don't even have that. So I'm just going to throw this over to Lisa because Linda will come back after the break. Would you ever consider snooping in your partner's emails? And, of course, you're married, so you probably can't even answer that on the air.
I go on him all the time because he never clears out his junk mail, so it drives me crazy. So, yes, I go through his mail and clean out his junk mail. So, yes, I do. I'm not looking for anything bad because I trust him, but, you know. I do go in his mail.
Okay, well, when we come back from the break, Linda and I are going to talk about some great finds that we had this week as part of our Powered Up campaign. I want to thank you, Lisa Detres, for being our guest today, for being our expert, for being so willing to talk about your personal life to help other women to power them up. And we'll definitely have you back.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's been a pleasure being here, and you all have a powerful day.
Thank you. Thanks, Lisa.
Bye-bye.
We've got lots more Powered Up with Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin after these messages.
Are you happy with your life? Satisfied with the direction you're taking? More importantly, are you content with the results you're seeing? Then Success Profiles Radio is the program for you. Join host Brian K. Wright as he talks to experts in many areas relating to life success, including expertise in leadership, business, relationships, careers, networking, health, overcoming adversity, and much more. Each week, we'll explore different aspects of success and how to apply them to your life. For more on Brian and the show, check out his website, briankwright.com. Each week is a dose of inspiration. So many people live their lives wanting more than they currently have. Success Profiles Radio is a show that will clearly demonstrate the principle, if I can do it, you can do it. So don't miss this opportunity to take control of your life and your results. Success Profiles Radio with Brian K. Wright. Mondays at 5 p.m. Central on the Rockstar Radio Network. Believe in your fairy tale to make your zing come true.
I love it.
Debbie Glickman and Deanna Cohen know it. Join these soul sisters on TogiNet.com. Believe in your fairy tale to make your zing come true. Showcases two sides. One, to help entrepreneurs showcase their products and tell their story of their happily ever after. And two, to interview people who have realized their own fairy tale and doing something to benefit others. This show is here to help folks who have an idea and want to get it off the ground, as well as to inspire people to make the world a better place by doing something extraordinary or out of the box to help others. Both of these entrepreneurs have their own businesses and websites. With more information on their passions and successes, first for Debbie, fairytalewishesInc.com, and for Deanna, thenextbigzing.com. Believe in your fairy tale to make your zing come true with the Soul Sisters, Debbie Glickman and Deanna Cohen on TogiNet.com.
We're back with Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin. Here's more Powered Up with Beck and Franklin.
Hey, ladies, this is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Linda Franklin. And, Linda, that was such a great segment with Lisa Detres. She's always so much fun to have on the air with us. I'm going to ask you the same question that was, was posted on Facebook and Twitter, where almost a third of people actually stalk their exes. Would you snoop in your partner's emails?
Yes. And if I had an ex, I probably would be curious enough to I don't know if stalk would be the right word, but I probably would take a look at their Facebook and Twitter if they were on there. And if I did suspect that someone was doing some naughty things that they shouldn't be doing, I probably would go and check through their pockets. Now, so I would admit that, yes, I would do that.
Yeah, I would admit it, too. I mean, it's not saying that I would or have, even though when my ex-husband was cheating on me, I was like a spy. I mean, I pulled texts off of phone. I was, took all of my technology wherewithal to pull all this data down. I'm so glad that I did. There's part of me that's glad I did. Part of me I'm glad I didn't. The part of me that's glad is it gave me certainty in ending my marriage. The part I'm not so happy about is I was privy to a lot of the conversations between my ex-husband and his affair partner about me, and that was a tough pill to swallow. So if you're going to snoop,
beware.
Yeah,
be careful what you find, right?
Well, yeah, because, when anybody has an affair, they absolutely have to make the wife or the husband, the villain. It's like, oh, this woman doesn't love me, she doesn't take care of me. And, on her end, it was like, my husband doesn't appreciate, he doesn't respect me. And, that's all well and good, but when it's you and you're reading all this stuff,
I know.
Yeah.
But it's so crazy, and don't you think it's weird that you're always reading about these guys, even these high-powered guys, because they're very visible and they're always getting caught with their pants down. And you'd say, how can they be so damn stupid? I mean, why didn't they take precautions? Why didn't they? Because you don't, and there's a lot of women out there that are having affairs as well, but you don't read about them because they're not getting caught. Why is that? Is it because the hubris of men is so great that they don't think that they're going to end up in trouble, but women are always very cautious?
Yeah, I definitely think there's something to that. I never had an affair in my marriage, and part of it was I was terrified of getting caught. I was terrified of what my dad would think or my mom would think, and, I thought I don't want to let down my brothers and sisters. We're a very, very moral kind of high, I don't know what the word is, family, high moral, I don't know, whatever it is. There was a very much set of right and wrong in our family, and my dad always laid down the law as the commander, saying this is right, this is wrong. So fear is what kept me mostly from not having an affair, even though my husband was unfaithful more than once. I still never strayed, but I was a big chicken. I didn't want to get caught. And also, I think as women, when you think about doing this, because it did cross my mind, I was in a very unhappy marriage for a long time, it was about like, I thought about my kids, and I thought about my friends, and I thought about our common friends, and, I thought about all the relationships that would get tangled up in that affair. My ex-husband didn't have any problem. I don't even think that ever crossed his mind.
No, probably not. And it doesn't cross. I mean, you took it to the nth degree, because I don't know if women would even take it that far down the road, but they certainly do think about it more than the man does. And I think that's very obvious. So maybe that's one of the differences.
Our standards are different. I will tell you, when I watched the way people reacted when my ex-husband's affair came out, because he had an affair with a local woman who was also married with children, and this was in a very small town of maybe 600 families in a bedroom community. As much as I can't stand her and I can't stand him, everybody just wink, wink, nod, nod, well, that's what men do, was the way my ex-husband was treated. His affair partner was absolutely cast out among the group of women, not invited to barbecues, not invited to birthday parties. And my ex-husband thought it was all because of me. But in reality, I'm not that powerful, no one is. But the way they treated her as having an affair as a mother of two small children, and him having an affair as the father of two small children, was completely different.
Yeah. Well, maybe it was the community too, but that usually is the case, that the woman, no matter what she does, always ends up being the bad guy.
Yeah. Yeah, as much as I think she's a bad guy, because, she was with
in that case, she really was the bad guy, but so was he.
Right, but it should have been equal. Like, I'm emancipated enough, I'm, good with myself enough to look at it objectively and go, wow, that really wasn't fair. He should be held to the same standards as she was if we're going to throw moral codes around.
Well, we're not there yet. We still have this double standard that's out there. It's alive and well. We're going to be working on trying to make it more equal, but it's a long road.
It is a long road. And I just love talking with this stuff about you. We're going to need to move on to our product section.
Okay.
Each of us has a fabulous product to share with people today. Linda, why don't you go first?
Oh, well, I did have one that I wanted to talk about, but I haven't received it yet. It was off of HSN, and it had to do with eyebrows. And, eyebrows are a big thing. I mean, they really frame the face. So I listen to all this party line that talks about eyebrows. And it's this new product that sort of, when you put it on, looks like real hair, and it has a little depth to it, and it sort of clings to skin as well as hair, and it's supposed to give you a really natural look. So I will report on that next week if it comes. But the thing that did arrive for Christmas was this Soda Stream. Now they
How is that?
It's good.
How is that?
What is it?
Well, yeah, what is it for people who don't know?
Okay, SodaStream, and actually had their first commercial, I think, for Super Bowl. It's instead of buying soda, it's a machine that you put in water, and it carbonates the water very quickly, and then you get like flavors, syrups and stuff that you add, so it can be Coke or ginger ale or
is it real
orange.
Coke? Like I'm really picky. I know the difference between Diet Pepsi, Diet Coke. Depending on the type of the month, I either want, fake sugar or, fake peppery. Can you tell the difference?
Well, they come in both. You can buy sugar-free or you can buy the regular. And it's pretty good, actually. I mean, I particularly like the ginger ale. I haven't tried all the flavors yet. But the reason my husband bought it and thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread, because he's a real gadget guy, is that you don't have to carry soda bottles.
Well, they're
they
really
can get
heavy.
pretty heavy. I mean, I know in LA you go take your car to the grocery store and then you bring it back. But in New York, I'm usually carrying groceries and lots of soda and seltzer and stuff like that, and it's heavy. So he thought this would really save me the trouble of carrying all of these heavy bottles. And I like it. I'm getting used to it. The thing is, the bottles aren't that big, so you want to make 2 or 3 at a time. Otherwise, every time you have 2 drinks, you're out.
Oh, so they're not the size of a traditional liter?
No, they're a little bit smaller, but as I said, you can make 2 or 3 at a time and just stick them in your fridge, and you always have it. So it's kind of cute. I mean, they were selling like hotcakes.
Oh, yeah. Well, I see them. I mean, we've got Robin in the chat here saying Bed Bath & Beyond has had it for like 3 years, and I see the commercials. I see, I always wondered, and I'll have to, maybe next time I come out to visit you in New York, I will try the Diet Cola version, because I'm really funny with Diet Coke and Diet Pepsi. I have them at specific times of the month, depending on my cycle.
Yeah, I didn't mind. I told you, he's the gadget guy. Would I ever think of going? I knew SodaStream was out there. I would never go in and buy it, but he did. And now that I have it, it's good. I mean, is it the best thing that I ever brought into the house? I have to get used to it. It takes me a while to warm up.
Well, sure, like anything. I mean, for me, it's like it took me the longest time. Like, I won't drink canned Diet Pepsi or canned Diet Coke. I don't like the liter bottles. My favorite is the fountain drink, and I'll actually go to work at a fast food restaurant, meaning take my work there, just so I can drink the fountain soda.
But sugar sodas?
No, the Diet Pepsi.
The diet ones,
Coke.
because, in New York, Mayor Bloomberg, I think it takes effect next month, outlawed the 16-ounce sodas. It's illegal to sell them or drink them here now. But that was all about the obesity, especially for children.
Well, speaking of obesity in children, I want to tell you about my great find of the week, which is the NutriBullet. I was watching that guy, who grinds up stuff on TV, and he talks about how good you'll feel. I'm going to buzz in right now. It works. That thing is the most used appliance in my house. I'm going to tell you how I use it, why I use it. Some days I'm just sick of vegetables. I live in Southern California where we get the freshest food on the planet with respect to vegetables, but I get tired of it. I can grind this stuff up into a juice. I can grind vegetables up or fruit, and I can throw them in sauces. I can throw them in, I've thrown ground up spinach and stuff like that in my brownies for the kids. I can get so many vegetables in me and the kids. And what else I like about it, too, is I can grind up almonds. I've made almond milk in there, soak a handful of almonds the night before, throw it in, add 6 cups of water. I don't have to talk about SodaStream. This is the one that makes almond milk for me. But I can also grind up flaxseed. I can grind up real steel-cut oats so they cook faster. It is the best thing I have bought. I'm not kidding you, not only just this year because it's early in the year, but in the past 5 years, the absolute hands-down best appliance.
How hard is it to clean? Because that's always been. I used to have these juicers, and then I stopped using them because it took me forever to clean them.
Right. I had a juicer like that too. No, absolutely not. It's only got 2 parts. The lid screw on. You rinse it under the faucet. It takes 2 seconds to clean. No scrubbing, no straining, no putting stuff back together. Absolute pure genius.
Okay, sold. I'll take a dozen.
Sold. I have to buy you one for Christmas next year. You guys, this has been Powered Up with Beck and Franklin. I am Sandra Beck. My co-host is Linda Franklin. Next week, we are going to be welcoming Dr. Robert Soren, a cosmetic dentist. So if you're worried about your chompers and you want to have a more beautiful smile, which we all do as we age, you're going to want to tune in. Thank you, Linda, and thank you, Lisa, for being on the show today. We will be back next week, same time, same bat channel.
We're so glad you joined us for Powered Up with Beck and Franklin. Sandra Beck, Los Angeles-based single mother and technology company owner, knows what it's like to be fit, funny, and fantastic in your 40s. Linda Franklin, a New Yorker with a successful marriage and